All right, so here's our recap, okay? I'm going to give you guys a time that worked. Going to give you guys a picture of a function. Going to call this f of x. Cool? Here's what I want to do to this function, okay? I want to create a new function. And to create this new function, what I'm going to do is this. Cool? All right. Now, what did we say in our really quick recap at the end of last class? We said that in order for us to do this transformation, we had to follow a particular order. What was that word that I used? cbad, yeah. So I used the word cbad. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these transformations and I'm going to do each of these one at a time over here in the color that I have to create our final product. Okay? So, the -2, what value is that? A, B, C, D. That's an A value. The B value would always be the thing in front of the X within the parentheses, correct? Okay, so the B value in this case would be a what? A 1, good. Our C value is here, and our D value is here, okay? So I gave you guys a quick recap at the end of the class, and what I said was the following. I said when I'm inside the parentheses, when I'm inside the absolute value, when I'm inside whatever it is that we're doing, it changes the X values, doesn't it? Okay? And I also said that it does so in a weird way. So this says X minus 3, but what does that mean I'm going to do? I'm going to add 3 because I'm going to be, give me a direction and a thing that I'm doing. I'm going up 3? Over 3. Give me a direction. I'm shifting to the right 3. Again, why to the right? Because when I'm in here, it always changes the what? The X's. And when I change the X's, that means I move left or right, doesn't it? Okay? So this C value is going to give me a shift to the right 3. So what am I going to do to create that graph? I'm going to take all 3 of these points and simply what? Shift them to the right 3. Which creates that graph. Are we okay with that step? Okay. Guys, if this said X plus 3, where would I be going? I'd be going to the left 3. Absolutely, right? So whatever this does is always the opposite when you're inside, isn't it? Okay. The B value is 1. Is that going to affect my graph at all? No. All right, so we're not going to worry about that. My A value is a -2. Now, what did I say? I said when we're inside, that changes the X's, right? Which means when I'm outside, it changes the Y values. Okay, Y values, guys, go which direction? Up and down or left and right? Yeah, so when I'm changing Y values, that's always going to affect motion that goes up and down. So I'm either going to be stretching, shrinking, shifting, or reflecting up or down, aren't I? When I'm what? When I'm outside of the parentheses, okay? So this A value of -2 is actually going to do 2 things, isn't it? It's going to reflect it, and it's going to stretch it. That's exactly right. So the A value is going to reflect it over Now, guys, again, this kind of motion reflects over which axis? Say again? Over the x axis, right? Because the x-axis is the one that goes what? Like that, right? So I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. And I heard it. We're also going to what? We're also going to stretch it by a factor of 2. In which direction? We said vertically, right? Okay. So, guys, the easy way to think about it, if I just multiply by -2, doesn't that really do both things, right? So what is the y value of this? Let me zoom in on this here. What is the y value right here? -2? What's -2 times -2? 4. So what's it going to do? That reflects it, right? And then it stretches it, doesn't it? Right? This point right here has a y value of what? 0. What's 0 times -2? 0. It doesn't move at all. This point right here has a y value of -4. What's -4 times -2? 8. So that's going to move up to 8. All right, so now I have this graph. Okay? And think about it, guys. Think about what this step said I was supposed to do. This step said I was supposed to reflect it over the x-axis and stretch it. So look at the black graph, guys. Did it get reflected over the x-axis? Yeah. Did it get longer vertically? It did, didn't it? Right? So we can see it. It's a good visual, right? Go for it. Why wouldn't I? I did. That's why I took each of these values and I multiplied by -2. Right? What's this value right here? -4, right? What's -4 times -2? 8. Right? Yeah, so that's good. That's the right thinking. And what's this +1 going to do? Vertical or horizontal motion? Vertical, because it changes which values? Y values. What am I going to do to the Y values? Shift it up 1, which means I'm going to take the Y values and simply add 1 to them, right? So I'm going to shift up 1 unit. And so when I shift up 1 unit, this point goes up 1, up 1, up 1, and there's my final curve. Yes? In that order. Has to be in that order. Has to be in that order. If you don't do it in that order, you're not going to get these right. Now, there are some cases where you actually don't have to do them in that order, but don't always do them in that order. Is that okay, guys? All right, let's do one more. All right, so I want to take I'm going to show you another way to do this. That's not. So here's the thing about this one. Does this look a little confusing? Because there's 5 graphs on here or 4 graphs on here. Looks a little confusing, right? So what if we did it without a graph, right? And I'll show you what that looks like, okay? So I want to take this. So let's put a point here, here, here. All right, so I want to create a new graph, and this is what I want to do to create it. I want to do that. I want to do that. Okay? So cbad. Is there a C value of interest? Am I adding or subtracting anything inside? No. Is there B value of interest? Yeah, what's the B value? The b value is what? 1/2, okay? So the c value does not exist. The b value is 1/2. Okay, now listen carefully. The b value is inside or outside of the parentheses? Inside. When I'm inside, it changes x's or y's? X's. Does it do so in the way we would imagine or the opposite way we'd imagine? Opposite, right? Because what happened here, guys? This was -3, but which way did we shift? To the right. This is inside, right? It's 1/2, but we're not going to multiply by 1/2. We're going to multiply by 2. So it doesn't shrink. It actually what? Stretches. Which direction? You said that this deals with which values? X values. So which direction is it going to stretch? X values go this way, right? So it's going to adjust them horizontally, isn't it? So what am I going to do to my X values? I'm going to multiply them by 2. So this means I'm going to multiply. Actually, let's just do this. I'm going to do 2x. I'm going to multiply the X values by 2. So Trinity, this is a way that you can think about this, right? Instead of me doing each of these steps graphically, here's what I'm going to do. What's this point right here? -2, 2. This point right here is -1, -2. This point right here is 2, 4. So what did the first step say I was supposed to do? It said I'm supposed to take the X values and multiply them by 2, right? Because it's always going to be the opposite of what this says. So I'm going to take these points and I'm going to multiply the X values by 2. So this point becomes what? Negative. Hello guys, come on, let's go. -4, 2. And this point right here becomes -2, -2. And this point right here becomes 4, 4. Notice something about that, guys. Did I change any of the y values? No, because this step says to just change the x's. What's my a value? -1. So what does that mean I'm going to do? Is it going to adjust the x's or the y's? Why the y values? Because I'm outside. What am I going to do to the y values? Multiply them by -1. And what's that going to do to my graph? Reflect it. It's going to reflect it, right? Multiplying by -1 is going to change the sign, which is going to reflect it. So I'm going to multiply my y values by -1. Am I going to change the x values? No. So what's this first point going to become? -4, -2. And the next one. And the last one. Or -4. And then what's this last step say I need to do? Adjust x's or y's. Why the y's? I'm outside. What am I going to do to the y values? I'm going to shift it up 2. So that means I'm going to take the y values and add 2 to them. So I'm going to take this point and add 2 to the y values, and it's going to become -4, 0. And this is going to become -2, 4, and this is going to become 4, -2. And that just took the y values and added 2. So these become my what? My final points of my graph, doesn't it? And so my final graph is -4, 0, -2, 4, and 4, -2. Boom. Boom. There you have it. And that's the graph of g of x. Okay? So that, guys, was a recap of everything in this unit, isn't it? Okay? We did some shifting, we did some reflecting, we did some stretching, we did it horizontally, and we did it vertically. Cool? So what's the recap? The recap is this. Ready? When I'm inside, changing x's or y's. The way we think or the opposite? When I'm outside, changing x or y's. The way I think or opposite? The way I think. And if you can remember that, that's everything, isn't it? That's everything. Okay? So let's take the problems from our notes and let's finish these up. Okay? putting it all together, guys, this up here is a recap of what I just talked about. It's really formally written. It may not, the way, when you read it, Jelani, it may not make a lot of sense because of the notation. So remember what I said, okay? Keep my words in mind. Keep my words in mind. Sound good? He's what? Oh, good. Oh, awesome. Great. So he should be on the phone. That'll be fun. Yes. Yep. It would. Where are you looking? Well, yeah. Hang on. Think about what you just said. Where's the x-axis? So if I reflect over the x-axis, it goes from here to here. So what changed? Well, boom, right? Cool. Okay. All right, so I want to take this question, I want to answer it, right? It says, I'm going to take the graph f of x equals x squared, and I want to do the following things to it, and I want to figure out which one of these matches, okay? So this says that I want to shift 4 units to the right. Shift, look at me, 4 units to the right. What kind of motion was that, vertical or horizontal? Horizontal. Horizontal changes x's or y's. So am I inside or outside? There you go. Is it going to be the opposite or the way I would imagine it should be? The opposite. So if I'm shifting 4 units to the right, I'm not looking for a +4, I'm looking for a -4. So I'm going to get rid of 1 and 3. Those don't make any sense, right? Can't be +4, otherwise I'd be shifting where? To the left. Okay. Then I want to horizontally stretch by 3. I want to horizontally stretch by 3. So what kind of motion is that? X motion, right? If I want to stretch by 3, it's got to be the opposite, right? Because when I'm inside, I'm looking for the opposite, right? So if I want to stretch by 3, I'm not looking for a 3, I'm looking for a 1/3, because it's the opposite when I'm inside. So that's got to be choice what? Choice 4. All right, here's what I want to do with this one. I want to take each of these and I want to match them up to each of these. So if I was to ask you guys, what is the, oh, hang on a minute. What are these graphs of? Parabolas, right? Do you guys agree that a parabola that has not been shifted in any way, shape, or form is that? So what does that look like? It looks simply like that, doesn't it? Okay. So I want to take this parabola and I want to shift it by doing these things. Sound good? Okay. So what's this going to do? Shift it to the right 2 and shift it up 2. Which one has been shifted to the right 2 and up 2? Position 1. What do I want to do in B? I want to shift it to the, I'm sorry, to the right 1 and down 4. Right 1, down 4, position 4. What does C say? Shift it to the left 2 and up 2, position 2. Which means that's got to be position 3. Good? All right, all I want to do, I know it says a bunch of things here. All I want to do is I want to do this. I want to describe the compositions in the appropriate order. I'm not going to do the rest of this. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do this. Okay? So in order, what is this going to do? In order, what is this going to do? Now, there are verbs that I want to use. What are those verbs? I want to use the words shift. I want to use the words reflect. I want to use the word stretch. I want to use the word shrink. All right, those are the 4 verbs that I'm going to use. In order. So look at what I'm going to do. I'm literally going to write cbad down. This is an A, this is a B, this is a C, this is a D. In that order, right? Guys, do you know what the person who's not paying attention does? The person who's not paying attention right now writes cbad right here, right? They call this cbad. No, no, no. This is A, B, C, D. Then we do them in this order, right? Okay, what's my C? -5. So what kind of motion is it going to be? A shift. Which direction? Why right? That doesn't make any sense. Because it's always the opposite of what it says when you're inside. So I'm going to shift to the right 5. Don't answer this question wrong. What's the B value? 1. It's 1, right? So guys, if I multiply or divide by 1, what happens? You get 1? If I multiply or divide by 1, it stays the same, right? That's why if there's nothing written there, it doesn't do anything, right? So the B value is inconsequential. It's just a 1. The A value is a -2, right? Okay, so what is, first of all, am I inside or outside? I'm outside, so is it going to affect X's or Y's? It's going to affect Y values, right? Is it going to do what we think or the opposite? It's going to do what we think, right? So what am I going to do? Well, if it's going to affect, first of all, it's negative, right? And it's vertical motion. So negative vertical motion is going to do reflection over the x-axis. So that's part of it, isn't it? Okay, so the A value is going to reflect over the x-axis. So that deals with the negative sign, doesn't it? What about the 2? It's going to stretch. I'm outside. So it's going to do what we think, right? So if it's a 2, it's going to stretch it vertically, multiply it. Absolutely. So I'm going to reflect over the x-axis, and I'm going to stretch it vertically by 2. And my D value is what? +2, right? Give me a word. Use these words. I heard stretch. I heard shift. What do I do when I have one of these? Well, what did I do over here, Johnny? You said shift right 2 and shift up 2, right? So this one is going to shift up 2. Right? Guys, if you're connecting the dots and this is making sense, then what do you notice? That the C's and the D's always what? Shift. And the A's and the B's always stretch, shrink, or reflect, right? A's and B's always stretch, shrink, or reflect. C's and D's always shift. Cool? All right, guys, the majority of this question is actually review. I need like 4 more minutes, okay? The majority of this question is actually review. I want to label each of these 3 points, okay? So I have the point -1, -2. I have the point 1, 3. I have the point 3, 4. Okay, when I talk about domain, does domain deal with X's or Y's? These are X values. Okay? These are X values. Guys, what is the smallest? What is the smallest X value? -1. What is the biggest x value? 3. So my domain goes from -1 to 3. Yeah, so I could either write it, good question, Johnny. I can either write it as an inequality or an interval. Usually when I do a domain, I like to do it this way because I put the x in there and that emphasizes that it deals with x's, right? Range, what's the smallest y value? -2. What's the largest y value? 4. Or like that. You guys better get this next question right. There are 2 key words here, guys. Is the function 1-to-1? Because it passes the horizontal and vertical line test, right? Yes, because it passes both the VLT and the HLT. Passes them both. Find f of 1. Yeah, f of 1 equals 3. Right? What does that? That means where is my function at when x equals 1, right? Guys, this next question is actually kind of important. It says, find x such that f of x equals 4. What does that mean? What is it? Can somebody ask, can somebody sort of like translate that? Yeah, you know. What is f of x another way of saying? Y, yeah? Yeah. No, the other way around. Yeah, the x value of y equals 4, because f of x is another way of saying y, isn't it? And so this is saying what x value gives y equal to 4? Well, what x value gets me y equal to 4? 3. All right, and the last question says, a new function is defined by doing this. Describe it and then produce the graph. So this is my new function. H of x is negative f of x minus 1 plus 2. So I know I need to do this in cbad order. I know that my A is this, and my B is this, and my C is this, and my D is this. Take 30 seconds, use the vocabulary from the other example, and write down what you think you're supposed to be doing here. Using that vocabulary. Let's see how you did. Shift to the right one because it's the opposite, and I'm inside, and it deals with x's. The B value is a 1, so that doesn't do anything. The A value is negative, which means we reflect it over the x-axis because it's a vertical motion. And then I'm going to shift it up 2 units. On the same graph, sketch and label my new graph. So you have options now. Option is you can do it step by step, or you can take the points, write them down, and just adjust the points. So if I did it step by step and did each graph, it would look like this. I'm going to take this graph. I'm going to shift it to the right one. There's my first step. I'm going to take my graph. I'm going to reflect it over the x-axis. That means it's going to look something like that. Reflecting over the x-axis, Sean, does what? Takes this point, which is 2 units away, and moves it up 2 units. Takes this point, which is 3 units away, and puts it down here. Takes this point, which is 4 units away, and puts it down here, right? And then what am I going to do with the blue graph? I'm going to shift it up 2, right? So I'm going to take the blue graph, and I'm going to move all those points up 2 units, creating this as your, what did they call that? G of x? H of x. So your green graph is h of x, right? And so again, I did that one step by step by graphing each of them. If you like that, do that. The nice thing about it is you can visually see it, right? To see if you did it right. Or you can take your points and do the points and adjust them the way we did in that second example at the beginning. How are we doing? All right. Good review, right? That's everything, guys. That's literally everything that we've done so far this unit wrapped into one. Okay. I don't see you guys tomorrow. I see you Monday. Okay. Oh, wait. I see you tomorrow and Monday. I don't see you Tuesday. I see you. No, I don't. Yeah. Okay. So just be aware that what? I see you tomorrow. We're going to do one last little lesson. It's a short one. And then we have our unit test